Yep, we are good.
Okay, guys, sorry we're a little late. Technical difficulties on my end. I had the mixer muted the entire time, so we did about 13 minutes of just talking quietly because you guys couldn't hear anything. So, to start again, this is the Sunday Sesh. Every Sunday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central. I've got Abe, aka Noizu, on today. And I'm going to be starting a new track. Abe, go ahead and give yourself a little introduction.
My name's Noizu. I'm a drum and bass, ambient, and whatever the fuck else I feel like producer from Spokane, Washington, student of music, and I know Mr. Johnny Weird here from high school. He got me into production at the age of 17 with a totally legit version of Ableton that I now don't have because I use a completely legit version of FL Studio, which is what you will see us produce on.
Yeah, no sarcasm on the actually legit version of FL. Yeah, I'm actually running pretty much all legit plugins these days. So before we actually get started, I'm gonna
You're cutting out a bit.
Oh, I am. A
little bit. It's catching up.
Okay.
All right, we are good. So why don't you retell everybody? We already did all of this, so it feels like deja vu. Why don't you tell everybody what you're going to be making today, and why don't you go through what your blank tracks look like?
Okay, yeah. So my plan was to kind of do a 140 BPM sort of bass house, hard house sort of thing. My basic setup, what I open up every time I start a new project, empty channel rack, default Maximus, limiter with the time variables all the way down on the master. Drum bus is getting audio routed from the kick and snare bus, which both have default Maximuses on it. The drum bus itself has another Maximus on it. The hats bus goes directly to the master. And then the sounds bus contains everything beyond this separator here. And, sorry. I know people really are going to say, you're using multi-band compressors, that's going to screw with the phase of the bands, and, honestly, I really don't care. It sounds good at the end, doesn't really matter. The multi-stage compression helps make everything sound really loud in the end product, which, as a heavy EDM producer, sounds good. But yeah. So I figured I'd start with some drums, pretty important for a house track. Was going to do a synthesized kick drum, probably layered with some transient samples. And then I'm going to try and decide between a snare and a clap for the offbeat, kind of play around with that. Do some sort of open hi-hat for the offbeat, and then maybe even do a little Serum work to try and get the sort of main bass going. Maybe play around with rhythm a little bit. But yeah, that's that. So let's go ahead and
hell yeah, gonna get some classic dance music in here.
I'm gonna go ahead and open up a Citrus, which is FL's native FM plugin, but I'm probably not going to be doing terribly much FM in it today. So when using,
it's not. I mean. So what is FM? For the people who don't know, what's FM synthesis?
FM is short for frequency modulation, which is,
does exactly that.
Yeah, mathematically speaking, it's actually like moving the waveform past a set point really fast in order to emulate frequency modulation. I don't know specifically why they can't do direct frequency modulation, but, they can't. But either way, so it makes, stuff that sounds like... sound like that, which is really nice for sort of dubstep basses and such. So yeah, we're gonna.
In the words of Carnage, it makes it sound very much way more dirtier.
Yeah, paraphrasing there. So steps when you want to use Citrus to make a kick drum. So first you got to turn this all the way up, PE, which is short for pitch envelope, and it controls how far the pitch envelope represents. So that's the first thing you want to do. And then the second thing you want to do is go to this main tab and make sure that you're under quality, that your draft high quality envelopes and your oversampling are the same as the render, or else when you render it, your kick drums will sound different than what you've been hearing the entire time. So make sure to always turn that on. You know, sometimes it could sound kind of cool if you don't have the high quality envelopes on. Just make sure that if you're going to do that, you need to turn it off on the render as well. Otherwise, it's going to change how it sounds. Basically, just gives better temporal resolution to all the envelopes. So started. Start with a basic pitch fall. Second, I'm going to go ahead and wrap that in the kick bus. Got my pretty little sine waves up here. I got my so I've got the spectrum in the back. I've got the waveform here. And I've got the stereoscope, whatever it's called, to monitor how stereo wide the mix is. Oh yeah, I forgot to go through my setup. We did that last time too.
That's right.
I'm listening on Audio-Technica M50X headphones. They're really nice headphones. Really nice high and mid clarity, maybe just a tiny bit lacking on the bass, but I make up for that by using the Subpack M2. For those of you who don't know what a Subpack M2 is, it is a wearable sub-bass transducer. Basically, it is a speaker without the speaker cone, so it just vibrates instead of making sound, and so it helps you feel the frequencies as opposed to hear them, and it really helps fill out that low end. It's a really cool product, a little spendy, but for those of you who can afford it, it's really a great buy for any producer, especially for those who are on the move or are in apartments, because then you can get that good bass clarity that you need when mixing and working without being super loud and annoying to your neighbors.
I feel like a good pair of really flat frequency response headphones and a Somatic sub pack would go really well with the FL Studio mobile version that they just updated recently. I didn't get a chance to take a look at it, but for someone who wants to practice music production on the go, that might be a really good combo. And he's right. It is worth the buy. I only got to use it the one time, but imagine getting a massage from a dubstep bass. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, it's kind of like leaning against a subwoofer almost. Then I have my keyboard, an Axiom Air 32 Mini by M Audio, and then the microphone is a Blue Yeti. I forget which model it is. It's one of the mid-range models. It isn't the best, it isn't the worst, but you know, it's good enough. Okay, so where were we? We were on kick drum. So
while you're working on that, mind if I talk about my setup for a sec?
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm using, my computer's nothing special. It's just a Dell desktop. I'm planning on upgrading it to something better. And little sponsorship here, I definitely want to end up getting a Razor's Blade Stealth laptop. They're fantastic. They're partnered with ImageLine. And if you're a music producer, they will do everything that you need. I'm using the Logitech X530 5.1 surround sound speaker setup. They're kind of old, so they're not the best, and they produce a lot of noise. I would more recommend them to like the home theater, less of the producer setup. And I've got a PreSonus audio box for my preamp, which conveniently enough came with its own little shitty DAW that I have yet to use called Studio One. Bless you.
Thank you.
I'm using a Rocket Jam stand to hold up my Audio-Technica 2020 mic, and I'm also using Audio-Technica M40X headphones. So the brand that's just, it's the model that's just underneath Johnny's, actually.
Yeah. So obviously we're fans of Audio-Technica. They make really good products, so you should definitely go check them out. So Audio-Technica
and they're not too spendy.
And Subpack. Yeah. My whole setup, the Subpack was about $400 when I bought it new. They brought it down to about $350. And then I bought the headphones new as well, $150 at the time. I don't know what it is now. And this is actually one of their older models as well. They've got better models now, too. Okay, so let's take a listen to how this is sounding so far. So, things I did, I've just got this pitch envelope, and I've got this volume envelope making the kick. What is that? Eighth note? Like, I think that's an eighth note. Yeah. Okay, so 1 second, so... What do you think? F sharp, or G?
I say go F sharp.
F sharp? Alright.
I'm having a bit of a hard time keeping up with it since the stream. I have to watch it 40 seconds behind, but that kick is starting to sound pretty nice so far. I'm trying to think of somebody to compare it to. The best I can come up with is like early Zed's Dead.
Yeah, well, it's really not the special yet. It's just the pitch envelope. So
not yet.
Yeah.
As I'm sure anybody who's seen our first one can tell, I'm less of a fan of synthesizing drums, but Jonathan is way better at it. So I have seen him do this a few times, actually. Last time he came over.
Yeah. So, neat little thing to make your synthesized drums sound less synthy is putting this second stage in here and kind of subtly altering it, kind of having that slow pitch drop at the end, kind of sort of emulates the way that real material would slowly kind of become less wobbly as the pitch got lower, as the volume got lower. It wouldn't vibrate as much, and so it can make it sound better. And if you noticed, I turned the snap off so that I can do this precision editing. This is another advantage of the vectorized plugins, is so you can zoom in and do really precise edits on these automation envelopes.
Yes, for real. Anybody who hasn't updated yet, it's got so many new features. The update before it didn't change a whole lot, in my opinion, but this one did a lot. We had a viewer. We had just like one other person who ducked in, ducked out, then came back in, then left again. So, whoever that person is, thanks for stopping by, I guess.
You know, glad we could entertain you for a few seconds.
Yeah, if even that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily a goal accomplished, but it's not bad.
It's something. So now I'm going to try adding a second oscillator to get that transient a more interesting sound.
Oh, that's starting to sound a lot better.
Okay, so that's sort of a thing. So now gonna go ahead and throw a limiter on there and then throw in EQ before that. Actually, before I mess around with those, I want to find a better sort of transient to mix on this. So
Yeah, you should find something that's got a little bit more noise to it. Like maybe add just a little bit of banded off noise for the very bottom end. Make it sound a little bit more full. That might make it sound a little bit more natural too. It would probably surprise a lot of people just how many producers out there use completely synthetic drums. Maybe not things as complex as a snare, because I imagine that would be a lot harder to produce synthetically, simply because it's got a more complicated frequency response.
Okay.
My end's starting to slow down a little bit.
Okay. E, F sharp. We want that at 41. So what I'm doing right now is I'm using a peaking filter with a very low bandwidth and with the tokens turned off to look at the tune of this kick drum sample that I've got.
Okay.
And if I turn this to high precision, yeah, and it looks to be just about the right pitch. Maybe pitch it up just a tiny bit. Yeah, okay. So go ahead and throw that on every beat, but go ahead and solo this. Go ahead and reset that. Turn tokens back on. High pass. Order 68.
So with a kick drum like this, how many layers would you say you usually do? 2 or 3?
Well, that depends on... Well, if I wasn't using the synthesized body, I'd probably use up to 4. But since I'm using the synthesized body, I'll probably just use this, the synthesized part, and then maybe another sample just to kind of play around with that. So go ahead and attach that. So I'm going to... So since these are both sort of kick samples which contain lows, a good way to make sure that they sound well together is to let it play and then reverse the polarity and see which way you prefer more. This is another advantage of feeling it on the sub pack, is you can really tell when stuff in the low end is in phase or not.
Which phase is a whole nother demon that we probably won't get into this time around just because it is a very complex topic. But to put it bluntly, reversing the polarity to make sure that everything is in phase is going to give you a much fuller sound. So producers out there, if you've ever tried layering drums and then you found that it actually sounds less full or it just sounds like it's missing some body, that might be part of your problem, is that your samples aren't in phase. It's something that everybody has to deal with. Phase is not something you can get around.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit more than I'd want to go through and cover right now. But yeah,
that would be like a half-hour long video.
Yeah. This actually sounds pretty good so far.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I want slightly less from this.
Now all we need is a sample of like a 60s soul singer with a bandpass filter, a reverb, and a delay, and then a really cheap pluck to go over the top of it, and we're done.
How's that? Yeah, that is really nice, actually, now that I kind of reduced the FM a little bit and shortened that kick sample. Yeah. So Yeah, I actually really like
Let's
that.
catch up a bit.
I'm gonna play around with the EQ on the synthesized part a little bit to make it a little more bumpy. So good thing to do with anything that you're doing bass on is to high pass below whatever frequency you're at, just to make sure that you're not generating any DC offset.
Fair.
Yeah. And then a neat way to make drums sound punchier is to not raise the bass part, but actually raise up some of the mids in the 100 to 200 range, which really help give the drum more swoop into the bass. And when you're listening on headphones with less bass, it'll sound a lot better as well.
You're cutting out a lot, but I think I caught the majority of that. Another thing that you can do, just simple timbre changes for drums, especially for kicks, is in the 200 to 300 hertz range. If you raise it ever so slightly in the EQ, you can get a little bit more attack on your drums. Don't always just raise the lows in your kicks. Not everybody is making 808s.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Now I want to find some sort of hat sample. Let's start with trance.
Trance?
I actually really like this first hat. It's nice and bouncy.
It's just now getting to the part where you pick hi-hats on my end. Speaking of trance, did you hear that fantastic Ramses B Psytrance remix of Rick and Morty?
No, I can't say that I have.
I was very impressed with it. He kind of revitalized the genre.
Yeah, trance is kind of been a scarce genre in these more modern years. You know, it was really big in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's dying a little bit.
Yeah.
The only reason it's still around, I would say, is because of Armani TV and Armin van Buuren's strictly trance labels.
Yeah. How do you think that kick and open snare or open hat sound? Have you gotten to that yet?
Yeah, I just got to the point where you took off a little bit some of the tail. It sounds nice. Yeah, no, I do think that sounds a little bit nice. Are you going to verb that?
Yeah, in a minute. I think I'm going to try and find some sort of... So now I've got to decide whether or not I want to do kind of a snare for the second and fourth beats, or whether or not I want to do some sort of clap. But before that, I'll be right back. I'm going to go get some water, because my mouth is all milky from this. My sister gave me a McFlurry before I started because her friend didn't want it. So I'll be right back. Give me like 30 seconds, 45 seconds.
I'll be counting. Oh, fantastic. He left his headphones right next to the mic. So everything I say feedbacks. I'm going to be quiet in case the stream picks it up. Just kidding, I love the sound of my voice. Hello. It's awkward when he leaves, isn't it? That was absolutely more than 45 seconds.
Oh, don't be so, grace period, man.
Grace period. My ass. I have my water bottle right here. Filled it up before the stream started.
Well, sorry. I was too busy doing awesome building stuff in Minecraft to get ready for the stream.
Yeah, I know, motherfucker. If my messages aren't sending and it's 10 minutes before we need to start streaming, maybe put down Minecraft.
Hey, I lost track of time. I'm building a really cool, underwater biodome.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it takes so long to empty those things.
I don't play that game anymore. I used to have a really fantastic castle, but then the computer that it was on is completely dead, so I just never bothered to go back and get it. Plus, the community just kind of scares me. The Minecraft community is a big, just cesspool of children and really, really disgusting older men.
Okay.
My coworker is trying to get me into a game called Don't Starve Together. She told me she wants me to buy it and we should all play together.
Yeah, it's an alright game.
I'm too busy with Fallout. I'm too busy with Fallout and Team Fortress.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start streaming Team Fortress on this channel. You guys can see how bad I am.
No.
You set your headphones down right next to the mic, so everything that I said fed back into it.
Yeah, no. What happened was I actually had the line out of my computer plugged into my sub pack, and so when I unplugged it, it went back through my speakers. So I actually took my setup with me because it's a little bit cumbersome to take off and on real quick.
Yeah. Oh wow, that last snare that you hit kind of sounded like a gunshot.
Which one? Was that in the trance?
I don't know. I missed it. Yeah. It was in the trance
I didn't really
one.
like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. It was just cool that it sounded like a gunshot.
Yeah,
I think just with the way I think with the tail of that hat, I don't know. I'm feeling a clap for this one, but you look like you're looking for a snare.
I think I'm probably gonna do a layer of a snare and probably 3 or 4 clap samples. Because I don't want a really strong snare. I want sort of a cloudy sort of thing.
A cloudy snare.
Yeah.
I've never heard somebody use that adjective to describe a snare before, but I look forward to seeing if anybody can do it. It's you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I guess the term that I'm really trying to say is more of an acoustic sounding thing. That's why I'm running through some recorded drum kits. Picked out this snare.
Gotcha.
Okay. So. There's that. Let's do some of the cymatics claps. I'll go and EQ them in a second.
I believe you. Eventually EQ anything. Maybe sometime during this week, any of the people who see this, keep an eye out. I think sometime maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, I might stream a little bit of progress. I'm just finishing the arrangement for a track I'm probably going to hopefully have released by this weekend. A little liquid drum and bass track.
Yeah, that sounds nice. Maybe something a little less processed now. No, not hats and crashes, snares and claps. That almost sounds like it has reverb on it. Yeah, in case you guys didn't tell, I have a bunch of random sample packs from all over the place. I have cymatics. If anybody reads magazines, the magazine Computer Music has a lot of really good samples that you just got to buy the magazine and you get free downloads of a ton of samples. And so I've got all those sort of packs.
How much is the magazine?
Depends on the issues. They're sort of cheaper these days because nobody's buying them anymore, and they
Oh,
often
that
go
sucks.
on sale.
On the subject of samples with reverb on it, do you think that it's irritating when they're recorded samples in sample packs that have already had some effects on it? Because I can always tell the difference between when a snare has been put out and it's just the recorded snare, and someone's put out the snare and they put a compressor on it, but they didn't state it in the description of the sample. I personally get a little irritated when I hear that. That just seems unprofessional to me.
I don't know. I have so many samples that I'll go through the same pack like 4 times and end up picking the sample I clicked twice.
Yeah, I do that. I do that too. I don't think anybody's gonna judge you for kind of picking and choosing sample packs from all over. I get like free sample packs from websites, and they'll be full of like 400 really shitty samples that I'd never ever use, and then like 50 that sound kind of cool.
Yeah. My go-to packs are the CRST, the cymatics, the trap step samples, and then trance. Those are the sample packs I usually go to first when doing drums. And then the trance pack actually has some really nice effects samples in it, and then so does cymatics. So let's hear how this snare clap is sounding. Yeah, that cymatics clap is actually giving it a really nice attack that I think will sound really good with the snare. Let me unsolo it. Yeah, I like that.
Give me about 15 more seconds and I should be able to hear it.
Yeah. Okay. Now to make sure the snare is tuned. Tuning drums is sort of a, you can do it, you could not do it. I tend to do it just because, I've got ADHD and in my mind it sounds better, even though it probably doesn't make terribly much of a difference. So.
No, that's good though. Those little differences really do stack up, and especially with house, it is very important because the drums are such a main element. Because you've got that 4x4 beat that's going the entirety of the song. Yeah. That having it tuned to the song really does leagues for the quality of the track.
Yeah. When you're doing house music, you absolutely have to do pitched, because it's part of your bass line. Whether you count it or not, it is part of the bass line. So. And that it has to be tuned. In trap should generally be tuned, or at least tuned to a note, not necessarily in key. You can make that sort of decision based on how it sounds. But when it comes to like dubstep and drum and bass, as long as the kicks and snares have really good impact for whatever you're doing, maybe in the more liquid genres you'd want them to be tuned, but generally speaking, they're fine either way.
Really, in the liquid genres? Because I've been making a lot of liquid drum and bass lately, and I haven't really taken the time to tune to it. Maybe I should. I have been experiencing a little bit of problems with my side stick shot for the last liquid track I've been working on. Maybe that'll fix it. Also, you'd probably want to know that there's some people who remain nameless. They're accusing you of some things in the chat. People are saying that you've got the clap.
What?
How much of that did you miss?
No, I mean, like, what do you mean I've got the clap?
People are saying you've got the clap. Uh-oh. I don't think he's processing the sarcasm. The clap as in the STD.
Oh. I don't get it. I mean, like, I'm not really sure where that joke is coming from. Wait, how many people are in the stream now?
We got a whopping me and one other person.
Well,
same person from last time, actually.
Person. Okay, so there's that tuned.
You mean tuned?
That's what I said, didn't I?
It sounded like you said doomed.
I don't know. It's fine. Oh, yeah. You know what I forgot to do? Forgot to throw a limiter on this.
What?
The other things. So
you could probably do those EQ curves blindfolded.
rather not.
Oof. Of course, I was trying to pay you a compliment. Yeah, that snare is starting to sound really nice. It's honestly giving me a little bit of a trap vibe just because of how punchy and quick it is. Oh, just a time check. It's 8:45 here. I'm sure you can probably see it on your computer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good balance. Okay, now back to this kick. There we go. Now that's got some thump to it.
Why don't we hear the whole thing in its entirety? Besides, isn't it supposed to be like a cardinal sin to mix a single drum while the rest of it is soloed out? I've been trying to get better at that, honestly.
I don't care.
I know it's a no-no.
Yeah, no, that's thumping nice.
Oh, that's groovy.
Although that snare needs to be reined in. MIDI out. Make it port 1 because I'm gonna eventually have port 0 for the kick. Really great plugin, by the way. It's great for sidechaining and drum processing, like I'm about to do now for drum processing. The thing I noticed is that when combined together, the body of the snare lasts a little too long. I don't like how that sounds, so I'm going to do some multi-band work here. And this plugin is actually pretty cheap too, so anybody can go get it. It's like $25. Forget who it's by. Cable Guys, Volume Shaper 4. They have some new sweet effect version of it. Okay, so let's see how that sounds.
Hey, I'm gonna give you a minute. Give me 1 sec. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. output 0. Put that there. Kick drum. Oh. Forgot to turn this to MIDI triggered.
I have returned. Sorry, my cat was whining. It was locked out.
Yeah. Beat one shot. Yeah, that's better. I didn't like how long that kick was. It was almost a little too bouncy. So I shortened it up.
Yeah, there was a lot of tail to that.
Yeah, and then on the volume shaper for the snare, I just shortened the low body of it a little bit, so it didn't have quite as much echo on that low end. It was a very subtle thing on my end, but you know, it sounds better with it. Okay. And no, that is sounding really good.
More tail on that kick than there is at one of our raves. Heyo. Yeah, I know. I'm a shameful human being.
Yeah, you know, we're queuing up for Porcello over here.
Oh yeah, I mean,
if
how
anybody's seen that video, oh man,
Porcello is the funniest fucking thing ever, and a little bit too accurate, if you ask me.
Yeah. You know, actually, I'm not going to use Serums.
Oh, he's not going to use Serum. So how much did that volume shaper cost again?
It was like $25 or $50. I forget.
Wow.
I bought it forever ago.
Yeah. That sounds really worth it for something that you would use that often, especially for drum mixing. That looks pretty quintessential to your process.
Yeah. Especially with the snares. Something I didn't do here, but I do in like dubstep, is I'll do like this, where I'll go into the high band, and where the mid band is, I'll go and do something like, obviously it wouldn't be exactly this, but I'll cut out some of the highs so that just the body is coming through, and it really makes it stand out really well, especially if you throw an EQ right after the volume shaper and then turn up the body even more. And, you know, doing that after compression, it'll sound really good. It'll
That's
make
interesting.
it, yeah, it'll make it super hard hitting.
Yeah.
So I was gonna do a Revolver. Oh, daggone it. He's in the wrong order. Okay, so there we go. So let's take a listen to that with just hats.
Think you're going to have time to be able to design a bass today, or are you thinking something else like a pluck?
I think I was going to do sort of more of the bass house and the deep house sort of sound, and so kind of stick to my wheelhouse, do some sort of like dubstep-y sounding thing.
Oh, cool. Hey, once again, it looks like we're doing a bit of a shout out to Ausa. That's the kind of sound they've been really into. Well, I look forward to seeing how your sound design process works. That's actually something of yours that I haven't got to see too much of. Have you been spending any other time with other producers other than me?
No, not really. I don't really know anybody here.
Good, don't cheat on me. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was spending a day working on a little prog house track with a friend of mine. Some of you might know him as Brand Music. Some of you might know him as Glimmer or DJ question mark. Anyway, he's one of the best at mixing, producing, and writing vocals that I know. And so I think at some point we were going to start having guests on this when me and you get a little bit further in our tracks.
Yeah, in case you guys can't tell, we're super underground.
Oh, yeah. No, but that's okay. That's what makes us cool. That's what makes us hip. The two people that are watching us right now are so on the level.
Yeah.
Nobody else. No, we're on so many levels of irony. Even Frank Jeff C would be embarrassed.
Yeah. We're so underground. We're practically to China, even though China isn't actually underneath us right now.
I was just about to say, if we dug completely underground, wouldn't we end up closer to Australia than China?
I don't know. There's a plugin on Google Earth that'll let you see where the opposite side of the Earth is. Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure my hammer would break before then, but that's interesting.
I think I kind of like this mid-stage impulse. Oh, wait, no, I didn't have that in the right order. My bad. No. Hang on. You know what? I'm waiting for the update when, like, everything just by default opens up inside a patcher. So, you know, they get rid of this, like, slots thing and just have, like, an instance of patcher there, and then, like, every time you open a new synth, it opens inside a patcher. You know, I'm just expecting that at this point.
Why? Ew, why would you want that? That would take up CPU power and screen space. And plus also not everybody really uses patcher. I've noticed I don't use it a whole lot. None of my producer buddies do.
I really like patcher, especially when I'm doing reverbs, because I can put EQs in them.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, if I want to do stuff like that, I usually just go the good old reverb bus route with the verb up front, a corrective EQ, and then just like a band EQ to shape it a little bit more.
And I'm getting like a mousy sort of squeak somewhere.
I think that's your throat.
No, I meant in the sound. Okay, there it is. So I'm gonna go.
That's sounding pretty good so far.
Yeah. There we go. That sort of eliminated it. And then I should also go and...
Whoops. I can see what you mean about shaping your EQs in patcher right after the reverb.
Yeah.
That is making it sound a lot cleaner.
Yeah, I'll do that later. I'll actually do it in here first. Yeah. Then I'm gonna do...
So why don't you explain what you're doing with the volume shaper right now? It looks like you're trying to take away a little bit of the tail so you can make it a little bit less washy.
Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm wanting the original sample to cut off when the kick comes in. So it kind of helps give it a more bouncy feel. I guess technically I should be doing this in reference to the kick itself, but you know, I do a lot of mixing while soloed, and while you're really not supposed to do that, it usually turns out all right. So
yeah, it's really not that big a deal. It's just something people say.
So
beat is sounding good so far.
Yeah. Let's try. Okay.
I think you could go 40% with that one. Skype is telling me that my microphone is really quiet. Maybe should we turn this? Maybe we should get real quiet. Turn this into some ASMR content.
Hello, everybody. How you doing today?
Weird and noise. Cooking up beats for you. It's free real estate. Jesus Christ. Oh man. Yeah, we're going to always be underground if we're going to continue making DJ Khaled references, making fun of Carnage, and openly making masturbation jokes. This is going to be a very, very sleazy and yet weirdly productive stream.
This is kind of weird. Oh, I like it. Ooh, yeah, you know, that's a banging kick right there.
It's a certified banger.
Okay. So now that I've got that going, I'm going to kind of decide on my bands. So now I kind of decide on where all my bands are set based on where the drums are. And so I'm going to now go look at it on the master, decide where the bands are going to be on the master, and then go ahead and copy those to the rest of the bands, and then I'll continue working.
Hey, maybe, how about, because we are a little bit limited on time and it's already 9:03 where I am, I think maybe save the compression for when the cameras aren't rolling, because that does take a little bit of time.
I'm not actually going to do any compression. I'm just changing where my bands are split.
Okay, just for the one thing. All right, it looked like you're about to start your overall drum compression process, and I think we all kind of want to see you make a bass.
No. I just since the bands kind of cause phase stuff, I like to change my bands so that they're a little bit below the snare, and then kind of split off between where the hi-hats are and where the snares stuff is, and so it's just a mixing thing. Okay, so copy value. Paste value. Okay, and So doesn't do that much, but it'll just be important later. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. So nothing terribly exciting yet, just kind of a basic sort of house beat. So now we're gonna do something.
Feels a little fast. Isn't 140 kind of out of the range for most house?
Yeah. That's why I said that we were gonna do kind of a bass house, hard house sort of thing. Hard house is a lot like electro house, except it's faster. 140 to 150 range. So it's like you've got house, then hard house, then hardcore, and then hard style in terms of tempos for four to the floor music.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. Which house is always in the area of 110 to 130, and if you watch We Are Your Friends, supposedly 128 is like the best number for it, the magic number.
The 128 thing actually comes from the fact that in 128,
it's our heartbeats.
Bars is either 15 seconds or 30 seconds exactly. So if you do like a 32 bar progression, it takes exactly 1 minute, and that's why the whole 128 thing is like a thing, and it tends to be the go-to tempo for a lot of house sort of stuff. And then for your halftime genres, you would go like glitch hop, which is like 90 to 110 range. Then you'd have your dubstep, your drum step, then drum and bass.
And then your hard style and your hardcore.
Yeah, and then trap falls pretty much anywhere depending on what kind of style of trap you're doing.
Yeah, for real. Trap is kind of interchangeable everywhere.
Yeah. So let's see. That's terribly unpleasant.
Producers know this, casual listeners may not, but most EDM is classified by the drums and by the BPM.
Yeah.
Sound design is a pretty much free reign. Sound design really only tells the difference between the genre and the subgenre.
Yeah. So you can tell like UK dubstep from bro step based on whether or not there's mid-range bass. If you got mid-range growl basses, it's bro step. If it's just sort of the sub-frequency wobbles, then you've got more of a UK-style dubstep track. And then, the difference between, like jump-up drum and bass and liquid drum and bass is whether or not you have melodic elements. And usually when it comes to the deciding sound design and what genre, it has to do with what's in the drop. So, you could have a melodic intro with a really heavy bass-filled drop, and it would be classified as jump-up drum and bass as opposed to liquid drum and bass. So, genres and subgenre things is kind of confusing, but, as long as you know your main three, main four, you've got your house, your trap, your dubstep, and your drum and bass. If you know those four, you are doing better than most of the population in terms of understanding your EDM. Okay, so let's do some bass. So we are doing F sharp.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go ahead and just on these. Okay, so there's the start there. So where do I want to start with this? I'm still rather new to Serum, so I don't know what like all the wavetables sound like just yet.
That's okay. If you're doing bass house, check out the digital wavetables. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Particularly the Debussy one is pretty good. The Spectra ones are nice too.
I'm kind of liking that. Envelope. So switching it to envelope mode means that it'll start from the beginning each time. Same with trig. But envelope means it'll run through once, whereas trig means it'll just start at the beginning and then act like a regular LFO.
Yeah, so the benefit of that would be?
If you want to do sort of a one-shot growl sort of thing, envelope is more useful. because it won't loop back around, so it can kind of make stuff sound weird. But if you do trig, it's good for continuous effects. If you want to do like some sort of like weird automation on reverb or something that you want to continue after the note has stopped playing, you can do trig. It's really just a matter of whether or not you want it to play once or continue playing. But since we're doing kind of a one-shot thing, we're going to do kind of envelope for now. Oh, I forgot this is an 8th beat, not a 4th beat. So awesome. One second, I'm going to set this. Okay, so for those of you who aren't very new to Serum, these two knobs here, as you can see, so this controls at what starting point in the phase of the wave that it's going to start from every time a note is pressed. So that'll control where it starts, and then this controls how far away from that center point that it'll randomly select. So if those of you who've used Massive, who used the restart via gate, you would turn this rand all the way down, and that will do the equivalent of restart via gate. Which, if you want a really consistent sound each time the note is pressed, it's important to do that. So if you notice there, when I had the phase and the rand up, it was sounding slightly different each time it played. And so I didn't like that. I wanted to be more consistent, so I'm doing the, rand all the way down, and I can just choose wherever I like the phase to start. Yeah, I'm just not liking the way that's sounding.
It was sounding better before.
Oh, that's not what I'm looking for.
Nope.
There we go.
Sounds like Vomit Step. And that's not an insult. Vomit Step is an actual genre.
You could almost call it like a sub-genre. Because it would be dubstep, then bro step, then vomit step. So it's more of a style.
It's a damn good style, though.
Yeah.
I've seen the emissary of Vomit Step, Snails, in concert twice.
Okay, so let's get some distortion on that.
You should try turning on the hyperdimension and then putting the LFO on the amount and then having it increase just a little bit. It has a really cool effect, especially on basses.
Say that again?
You should turn on the hyperdimension and then put the LFO, modulate the mix amount so that it's going up a little bit. Put it about a fourth of the way up and then have it go up about halfway with the LFO.
Okay.
It has an interesting effect, and you can just kind of edit it to taste, but it does sound really interesting. Makes it sound very, very bitey, I suppose is the adjective you'd use. Yeah.
Yeah, that does actually sound pretty nice. Let me try it before and after. Yeah, no, definitely before.
So it's 9:17. We've been going at it for a little over an hour now. I think maybe it might be a pretty good spot to start wrapping it up.
Okay, I wanna try one more thing first. So I wanna you know what? There was a table in here somewhere.
Needle.
God, no.
Sounds perfect. Maybe we should be making IDM. Try using the fine tune, pitching it just up about 7 cents. 7's kind of ironically enough, the lucky number with fine tuning. Ooh. I actually do like that. That's very metallic. I'm getting very Wiwek vibes from this bass that you're working on right now.
Okay, now to add some movement. Okay, 1 second. I just need that so I can see.
That sounded scary, man.
Yeah, doing very experimental stuff right now. Okay, let's try that.
Experimental just means that you need to be really smart to get why it's good. Right? Isn't that what people on the internet say?
Yeah, get on my aesthetic. Try. Yeah, brand.
All right, it's you finish this. Oh wow, you turned that way down. The voice amount, I mean. Turn that way lower than I usually end up going.
Ah, God, I'm killing myself over here. Note to self,
well, hey.
don't switch to Seinfeld suddenly. Oh no, let's see what that sounds like in context, because I bet it sounds like garbage. Okay, so, you know, it's been about an hour and a half, so this is what we come up with so far. So, not too bad. We've got some good drums. The bass is getting all right. I really want more movement out of it. I want something with more of a like a vowel-ish motion in it. But other than that, you know, we've done all right for an hour and a half's worth of work.
Yeah, the drums themselves is a pretty good result for that amount of time. Maybe next time we can start off and we can put an EQ and the effects chain for that and see if we can't force a vowel sound out of it, or even just muck around with the wavetables a little bit.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was doing here with the high pass band pass, or high pass peaking.
Till then, I think this might be Till then, I think that might be a good time for us to wrap it up.
Yeah. So unlike Noizu, I don't have an awesome intro, so I guess I'm just gonna say bye, see ya.